Welcome everybody to Builder Nation, the podcast where we explore the forefront of technology and innovation in the hardware industry. Today, we are diving into the depths of the ocean exploration with Bedrock Ocean. Bedrock is revolutionizing marine service with their cutting-edge autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, and a powerful cloud-based data management platform, Mosaic. Stay tuned as we uncover the incredible technology and vision driving Bedrock's groundbreaking work in ocean exploration. Today, we are joined by Charles Chiau, CEO, CTO, and co-founder at Bedrock Ocean. Welcome, Charles. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Charles, just introduce yourself. Tell us about you. Tell us about whatever you want to say about Bedrock.
Hi, everyone. Charles Chiau here, CEO, CTO, co-founder at Bedrock. It's been really exciting to be part of this journey and just kind of share a little bit about what Bedrock's, sort of like have been up to and what we're about to change. Bedrock's been around for about 4.5 years. We've about 38 people on the team. It comes from all kinds of backgrounds. So we've basically delivered technology all the way from Marianas Trench, ISS, and everything in between. So it's been a really unique kind of group of people to work with and be in the trenches with, essentially, and kind of bring like next generation technology forward.
Yeah, perfect. I can imagine that it's an amazing journey with all of them. So I was reading an interview that you gave 14 years ago, a long time ago, for a website that is Taiwanese American. I don't know if you remember, but I read that your passion was to develop robotic technologies that help people and that you wanted to leave a legacy in technology that allows the next generation of engineers do bigger things. So I imagine that moves you to do all your projects, especially now Bedrock. You still think the same 14 years later? And do you achieve that vision with Bedrock?
I have to say, it's amazing to hear that back again. It's like a time capsule. And absolutely, it's something that's been burning inside, kind of like a passion of mine to really build technology, help people go forward. It's fun to see like nothing's changed in some ways, but what has changed is sort of the people I've met, the things I've learned, and sort of how the more confidence and belief that it is possible, right? Like these things are now, technology's in a good place. The world has changed in a place where they are now adopting more and more different technologies, more open, more connected, and more willingness to work together, especially in multiple fronts like ocean, data, and science and perspective. And really, how do we work better for the better of humanity, or better for like for Earth, essentially. And having that all come together in something tangible that someone like me can create a company and build a team at Bedrock to potentially make a dent in something like that change in the future.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Can you, with your own words, what is the mission of Bedrock? Like, I understand that this sense of helping, of sense of investigation have moved you to do this company, but what is the mission of that?
I'll start with, sort of the world has changed in a way that it's increasing its reliance on ocean to survive, right? Like critical decisions are being made everywhere for the need for energy, resources, stability. And most of these decisions, they rely on better understanding of our environment to actually make more intelligent decisions and more impactful decisions. Yeah, and so from our perspective, sort of like the vision is data should be easily accessible. It should be readily accessible and economically accessible. And so what that means is, for better impactful decision making, this will only continue to be required more rapidly and more responsibly. So Bedrock's mission really is to build the technology and infrastructure so that and the capabilities to provide that access and to actionable intelligence through autonomous systems and autonomous data insights. So, there really needs to be a unified data set that is a source of truth for the world. And, in order to make strategic decisions that will, make our life better on Earth and beyond.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I understand, because of course we need to take care of the world we are living right now. So of course it's really interesting and amazing for me to hear that about you and about the work that you do. And I know that you were working for more than 15 years building and piloting vehicle systems for air, land, sea, and space. And I want to know, what skills have you brought into Bedrock, and how have you been able to make it grow since the beginning to now that it already have, you told me, more than 30 employees?
I would say, definitely curiosity and willingness to learn. So I started my career really building manned submersibles and for super yachts and explorers, or people like Tom Perkins, Richard Branson, Steve Fawcett. Having the first opportunity to like dip into the ocean through machines. The critical difference really is when you're building your own life support and climbing into a vehicle that you and your team have built. And then you have to put somebody else in it, and then send it off. You look at safety very differently. Your attention to detail kind of goes through the roof, because if you screw up, either you or somebody dies. That's a pretty high stakes thing, and to kind of put your stamp on saying like, this is okay, this is go for flight, this is ready. And so that was an initial kind of experience of how you should approach challenging problems and sort of what is at stake. Later on, I moved on to avionics system integration engineer at SpaceX for the Dragon spacecraft. That was a whole different experience, learning how to bring launch capability back to the US, complex systems, how you do the trait studies. It's talk about a stressful environment when Elon's behind watching you doing a launch. And, again, if you screw up, someone could die.
Yeah.
So a lot of that critical complex system design, how do you work under pressure? How do you lean on your teams and really be able to trust that like your team really is your support, and being able to let go of like, I have to do everything. But that goes vice versa too, because everyone's going to trust you, and so like your value, your level of effort, and your attention to detail again, really needs to be a step up. After SpaceX, essentially, cool, space is awesome, takes a long time to get through. I ended up as a system integration engineer at Reliable Robotics for autonomous aircraft, essentially to make airplanes fly safer, be more economical for operations. And what I really learned there was about system design, how to go through regulatory processes, developing new types of technology, and getting through sort of like the regulatory system, say like US, right? Like autonomous vehicles have run into this regulatory problem quite a bit. It's like, we'll build the thing, and then, we hit regulation, which is like really far behind. And how do you get it to market, right? So you kind of die kind of in that range, or you can't bring it out faster. So that really informed a lot of like Bedrock strategy of how do we go to government? How do we deal with the regulatory side? How do we get ahead of these things to really position ourselves to be ready, and that everyone else who our customers are ready as well.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
These are a couple of things that have really brought back, and what really got Bedrock growing was really bringing in the competency, the resilience, and sort of operational experience in hard tech. And so it reduces the chances of making old mistakes. We don't have to start from scratch, and really have a faster recovery from new lessons learned. It's a challenging environment, and things will go wrong. And so how do you construct sort of like a system of people and processes and experience to really build things going forward and into the unknown?
Yeah, and I want to stick with the challenge that you face, but before that, I need to us, or to everybody that is going to watch this interview, what is AUVs? Because I already said what it is, but I think that you can give us an easy explanation of AUVs and what is the difference with Bedrock's AUVs to the traditional marine survey methods.
Yeah, so I'll start with traditional marine surveys are typically done with large ships. It's a big ship with sonars on board and maybe towing a sensor behind with a cable, and you have a lot of people on board. The reason is for it needs to be out there for a very long time with data processing, sort of like all the equipment is needed. It's just a very heavily energy and efficient way to move sensors around the seafloor to collect data. And so AUVs, what they are, they're autonomous underwater vehicles. They usually carry similar or even the same sensors on board, and basically takes way less energy to be able to move that sensor around to collect data. It also maintains really good quality because you can follow the terrain, whereas ship-based systems basically can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and again with the challenge, what were the challenges that you faced developing this software for seamless autonomy across multiple AUVs?
Yeah, I think one of the major challenge is defining what do you want it to do. Because it can be anything, it can carry anything. Like what is your scope of the system? And the challenge really is figure out what you want to do, figure out what scale looks like, because we want to build fleets of large coverage area, high efficiency. How do we do launch and recovery? But really, it's what does he wanted to do? How do you want to do it? And from a software perspective, software and hardware are really, really closely tied. Is what kind of hardware am I going to commit to have software be able to live on it to enable all kinds of processing powers or capabilities that we can unlock, and the future proofing as well, because once you commit to hardware, it takes a long time to change. It doesn't change like tomorrow with software. I can just start over and recompile. Hardware, you're basically baked in. And so the challenge really is thinking through the end-to-end system and what the impacts your current decisions will be down the road, and sort of what things you can bake in now that allows you to be more flexible in terms of like software space and capabilities wise without changing your hardware set. And so building one vehicle's hard. Building fleets of systems and operate them seamlessly is even harder, because you have communication challenges, you have your bandwidth challenges, how often you can communicate with them. And since these are like satellites, you can't just pull over and go upload firmware, right? It has to protect itself. And so a lot of the brain's intelligence on board is probably one of the most challenging things of what do you teach it to do and what can it learn on its own.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I understanding that there are many things happening at the same time. And of course, you have a huge team to help you in all this process. And I was reading about the Bedrock's AUVs are not dangerous for the ocean. That for me, it's really important. And it's really interesting that to show people this, because of course everybody's thinking, okay, I'm going to put something in the ocean, what is going to happen, if it's going to be dangerous or not. And I read that Bedrock's AUVs are not dangerous for the ocean. So I was reading about a field test that Bedrock did last December, where you use 2 AUVs to collect data, or the treasure hunt that you find the anchors on Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Can you tell us more about that and the environmental benefits of the AUVs?
This is a really exciting thing for us to share. When we approach our solution, we really were taking into consideration of what kind of impacts we would make into the environment. Underwater systems for sonars, it's definitely acoustic, and acoustic travels very far and has a lot more impact to marine mammal life as well. And so we design our systems to be outside the auditory bands of marine mammals. And so above 200 kilohertz, this is something we've intentionally built for our system so that we can proceed and safely in the environment, and also fly very low to the seafloor. So it reduces the chance of whales or mammals kind of flying underneath and being impacted by the sound. And so what we've done with this is we actually went straight to the government and had a letter of concurrence, like indicating that this is our intention. These are kind of our operating protocols, and this is our advantage of our systems. And we've actually gotten a letter of concurrence saying that we are okay to proceed, and we are not harmed to marine mammals. And this is agreed by NOAA and National Marine Fisheries. And also, we don't need protected species observers. So in traditional surveys, they need several people on board, keeping an eye out for whales and things like that. We basically don't require that, which means it drops our operational efficiency. It drops our operational cost to not have more people on board, and further increases our operational efficiency. And so that's really kind of a benefit for the environment and how we kind of approached it. And keeping our vehicles small, keeping our logistics easy, also solves it from a transportation perspective, right? So large systems cost more and take more energy to move around. The smaller modular the system we are, the easier we can stay on site and go through repairs and not have to ship a ton of things.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that is really important to be careful with that too. And I am happy that Bedrock did it. I was reading some of the blogs that you upload on the website, so I was shocked about everything that is capable the AUVs to do, because they are super small, and they are. I read something that they can fit also in 2 bags. So I think that it's perfect too for transport and everything, as you told us. So I want to move very quickly to talk about the Mosaic data platform. Can you explain the functionality and how this helps?
Yeah, happy to do so. And this is also very exciting for us. So Mosaic's purpose was originally designed to transform a user's experience to interact with seafloor data, as well as how do you have a team of people also interact with that data set. one of the challenges in the past was data is pretty siloed. It's shipped around the world in hard drives and it lives somewhere, and people can't easily get access to it, or you have to process it and spend a lot of time before something turns it into something that is useful. And so what Mosaic really does is it enables collaboration and enables visualization, so you can see the data easily without using another platform. And really is to allow you to have global access. Like our goal is to be a global operation kind of company, to be able to get data and access data anywhere. And so access via the web browser or through a machine API essentially will allow you to essentially interact and access that data set in the way that you want in the future as well. And so Mosaic actually also has transformed itself for us. We use it heavily inside. It's evolved and turned into our survey planning system. It has evolved into our data analysis survey system. It allows us kind of fully close the loop of what our planned actions are versus what the actual results were, and really close the loop on a QA/QC and see how well did we do, able to really inform what the next mission, next survey is going to be or is needed. Eventually, as part of the automation process, this is all going to be automated so that we can continue to build large numbers of surveys with very, very few operators. And so these are all kind of technologies and things that are built in under the hood of Mosaic, which on the surface is just, here's a globe, here's a site, you can see all the publicly available data and the data that we've collected, as well as sectioned off, sort of like organizational data for certain customers. The cool part really is about all of that data is accessible, interoperable, and we'll be able to share that in an appropriate method and avenues to really help people make informed decisions and plug into their systems.
Oh, that's really cool, and I think that is really helpful to have that connected with the AUVs, because if not, it's kind of impossible to have the registration of everything. Have like many people can check at the same time too. That so it's perfect. I really like your explanation about that. And well, continue with that line of challenge, the things that you have to face during this journey. In today's business, what strategies do you use to ensure your supply chains and procurement process remain resilient and adaptable? Because I know that probably during the pandemic was difficult. After that, probably too. I don't know. Just tell me how you do it.
Yeah. So we were born right before the pandemic, and so we basically had to fast track, figure out how to do exactly that. We were buying components that were disappearing under our nose as we were doing checkouts. Things were just not accessible. So really, our strategy had been, how do we simplify? How do we make things minimal, be self-sufficient, and be independent and modular, right? So our strength really is in integration and foresight. So how can we put things together with the least amount of effort and be able to reuse that system over and over again, such that our part count is low, we're not as supply chain constrained from needing a ton of different types of parts, and also really selecting our vendors, like selecting really good partners is really, really key to really have long-term just stability. And so we had really good partnerships and deep integration with Norbit and Exhale. So they provide sonars, and also they're amazing companies. And basically it came down to who are we going to bet on for the future, and be able to create an ecosystem to not only share knowledge and experience, but also understanding what the future needs, and be able to test those theories and be able to bring that to market. And so we co-developed sonars, we co-pushed out some products as well, and we're also doing some R&D together. But right now we're one of its, we have an AUV that's one of its kind and carries the most advanced navigation sensors and sonars on board, and also new systems that are being developed as well. And it's just incredible to really have reliance and dependability in certain vendors. But selecting your vendors is going to be really critical. So basically we pre-bought a lot of systems as well, so we have stock. And because in the pandemic you basically end up with, all right, you have all these ideas, but if you don't have parts to build, you can't do anything.
Possible.
So we committed a lot of resources up front to ensure that we had enough parts and components to be able to survive through the pandemic and build more and be independent.
Oh wow, that's really cool. And for your procurement process, how you do or how you did before?
Our procurement process is, we have a lot of in-house built tools. And essentially, if we, we track everything sort of like aerospace. We track every part down to the bolt, and have histories of hardware. And so really following sort of how do you build reliable systems, and how do you track those all the way to the supplier? And so if something goes wrong, you want to be able to provide them with this like more detailed update of what went wrong, how did it go wrong, and have that information to really work with your supply chain to ensure that problems get resolved. And it also helps them with more information so they can dive directly into and help solve your problems, instead of saying, hey, something's broken, or like, we don't have this thing, and then it really doesn't help each other. So we have a pretty detailed system that we track our procurement process. We literally we have QR codes on everything. So it's a little bit overkill, but when something goes wrong, it's actually very easy to track, and we know exactly how to root cause our problems.
Oh, okay, I understand. So now I want to know, what future developments and innovations can we expect from Bedrock in the next few years? What is coming soon?
This is one of the most exciting things for us to share. So it takes many steps to kind of realize total access to the world's C4 data. So part of our phase one, which is kind of where we're in and going into, is continuing to lower the cost of data access and lowering the unit economics via autonomous fleet operations. A lot of this is going to involve around autonomous launch and recovery systems, and how do we make sure that we can operate N vehicles with one operator, right? Really changing how things have been done in the past. In the past is several people running big ships and one or two vehicles or a few, but how do we get to 50? How do we get to just invert that number so that we can really put the systems to high efficient use? And now that we're gathering data, we have good data sets coming in to actually enable training and things like that to inform future decisions. So phase two is really about expanding our portfolios for below and above the surface, as well as going longer range, faster, deeper, really to access more markets and increase the frequency of total sampling rate of the C4. Now, phase three is really, with all this data now collected, we can develop further derivative data products. We can really develop more insights. We can leverage this good data that we come in and train based on characterization of the C4, whatever kind of insights we want to get out of it. We have clean data going into the training such that it provides better results in the end. And so what that allows is different types of access to the data that we have, and really multiplying the value of the single data sets, either that we've collected or multiple data sets over time to really understand C4 mobility, and also the time series, time domain kind of aspects of our data sets. So all these phases kind of need to happen. You can't train and talk about AI and machine learning in today's world without really good data first, or the infrastructure in which to serve that. And so we're basically working through that process of how do we do acquisition extremely well and high quality. Then we can build the pipelines to enable access in a machine kind of way. And also now leverage all the research and capabilities and people out there to have data to play with, and level the playing field and say some kid in Zimbabwe or anywhere else now has equal access to data sets that we can leverage everyone's capability around the world.
And I hope that Bedrock and you and your whole team really can achieve that, because I was, like I told you, I was reading and I was checking a lot, and I was shocked. And I was shocked because it's amazing the work you did and you do now. So I really hope that everything is going to be achieved in the next years. But with all the experience that you have right now, is there any advice would you give to the young entrepreneurs that are starting their own journey? Because as I remind you at the beginning, 14 years ago, you said that you have a passion for that. You want to leave a legacy. So what is your advice for the young ones that are starting?
Wow, stay dreaming big and be ambitious. I think really is learning to choose your teams. The journey is really challenging. Things will go wrong. Things will go very, very wrong. And I've been blessed really with the teams that we have here and before as well. Everything leading up to the success we have today is really the success of everyone that's around you, like working in the trenches, going through the challenges, and really buying into why you are here. Because when things are hard, it's easy to lose sight of things. But if you hold on to just like, I'm here for a specific reason, I'm here for the impact that I want to make, I'm here to solve the types of problems that I can only solve here, and aligning those missions with your team is probably the most important thing, that no matter what problems come, you know that you have each other to kind of figure that out. But picking your team and being in some ways unapologetic of like, this is the type of team I want, and shape that and cultivate that through time and trials is going to be challenging, but that's probably one of the most important things in building anything. You know, companies built of people and technology, there's no output or no success without either of them. And technology is built by people, and so really end of the day it's your team that is going to help you bring everything to success. And also, when you win, who are you going to celebrate with? Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you don't want to be celebrating alone, right?
Yeah.
And there's everything is relative with we're trying to enhance humanity and people, and bring in diverse thought and all those things. Is how do you take all that to problem solve together? And so there's going to be many people that will tell you no, and only you can reject that reality and give yourself a chance to try. And so for customer wise, like, if you build it, they might not come, but if you don't build it, they'll never come. And so you just have to create that chance, and you just have to try. Everything is a lessons learned, and everything you do again, you're starting from a better place.
Yeah, and it's so important to be surrounded with good people. That's as you told, with the team, a good team with people that that is going to work with you, but also they have the same vision, the same vision as you, the same values than you. So that I think that really helps a lot everywhere, and I think that is a really good advice for everybody, and especially for the young ones that are starting right now. Well, so thank you so much, Charles, for being here. It was an incredible interview. Thanks for sharing your experience and thoughts. Where we can find you and Bedrock, any social media handles?
Thanks, everyone. You can definitely find us and follow us at bedrockocean.com.
Okay, perfect. And remember that you can find more information, interesting articles, and interviews directly on our website, buildernation.io, and as Builder Nation on LinkedIn. Thanks again for being part of this community. We will see you next episode. Thanks again, Charles, for joining us. We were so lucky to have you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.